Thank you, Battlefield 6. Since bloody 2019, we've been begging for the removal of the extreme levels of SBMM. And now that Call of Duty finally has some direct competition, I can't believe we've actually made it to this point, but skill-based matchmaking will be removed by default when Black Ops 7 launches. As well as that, disbanding lobbies will no longer be a thing. In a sense, we've basically got the old school matchmaking system back, as long as there's no catch. So the question is Black Ops 7 now worth the purchase? Well, obviously it depends on the player, but in this video I'm going to run through what I like and don't like about Black Ops 7 and whether or not I think it's worth the purchase. So let's start with the campaign. This is the one thing we don't really know enough about to make an informed decision on yet, but I personally like the idea of a co-op campaign, because when I'm gaming with mates, I'm usually having a good time. So even if the campaign itself is average, I should think I'll still be able to enjoy it playing with mates. That's all I can really say for campaign until we know more. Now, moving on to multiplayer. Thankfully, I was able to spend a decent amount of time playing the multiplayer beta for BO7, and at the start I was not having a great time, I won't lie. But since the open mosh pit was released, it got a lot better. Yeah, there was still some absolute sweaty games, but it didn't feel like it was as often. In terms of the actual weapons and loadout system, I like the weapons and how they feel. A lot of them kind of feel like BO3 weapons, which I quite like, and the attachment options are great because there's less of those attachments that have drawbacks to them. The perks are okay, but I feel like some of them should not be perks, rather they should just be defaults for how you play anyway. Like dexterity should just be the default movement. If you're going to make wall jumping a big part of how you play, you shouldn't have to equip a perk to aim and wall jump at the same time. Another one is the perk for looping score streaks. I think this again should just be the standard. If you're good enough to earn the same streak twice in a life, you shouldn't be penalised by having to equip a certain perk just to get those streaks again. In terms of wall jumping, I honestly don't know how I feel about it just yet. Most of the maps have it that there are common wall jump spots around the map, but it kinda just feels forced, like it just doesn't need to be there. A common problem I have with the wall jumping is I'll jump at the same time an enemy is, and we can't actually kill each other while wall jumping due to how fast we zip past each other. And the kill is more dependent on who turns around first when landing after the wall jump. I would have rather preferred something like wall running from Black Ops 3, because at least when you were wall running there was still more opportunity to get a kill at the same time. So at the moment it's not something I think should be there, but it might grow on me, especially if the maps offer more flexibility with how the wall jump can be used. For example, I like the moving platform and tower you can access from choosing to wall jump on that exposure map. More stuff like this in future maps would be cool, and it would actually warrant the use of wall jumping a bit more. In terms of the actual maps themselves, they are quite hit and miss for me, to be honest. I like Blackheart, Cortex and the Forge, but not too keen on the rest of the maps. Obviously there is certain equipment that needs a buff or nerf here and there, but in general the game feels good to play, especially with skill-based matchmaking turned off. Because before I wasn't even going to bother with multiplayer for this game when it launches, but now I'm definitely considering it more with the removal of skill-based matchmaking for the full game. But the main mode I care about is zombies. And before I say anything here, the fact that we got to play zombies in the beta for the first time in any COD ever is a massive W. This alone makes it feel like zombies as a mode is getting more love and attention from the devs, and it's a good sign for the zombies community overall. So let's start off with what I liked. Obviously we didn't get to play the whole Ashes of the Damned map that's coming at launch, but rather the closed off farm section of the map. And I gotta say, the atmosphere with this map is perfect. It looks like an actual zombies experience with the dark, foggy setting by the woods. For me, this is a million times better than Liberty Falls. One of the changes I'm most happy about is the fact that we can now get more points from a critical melee kill. I've said it before, but melee kills should give more points because of the higher risk situation you put yourself in by getting up and close to the zombie for a kill. And now we can even charge our melee attacks to do more damage, as a result making it more viable in later rounds to get melee kills. Trompy is also a new addition to the mode which allows us to get rid of any equipment or weapons we don't want in exchange for rewards like salvage or even a free ray gun. I really like this addition and I hope it won't be in every zombies map, as I feel like each map should offer something unique and different to make it stand out a bit more. Another interesting addition to the zombies mode in BO7 is the wall jumping. At first I kind of feel like this doesn't belong in zombies, but I think it's actually got some good use and potential. I think it offers a great way to dodge big hordes of zombies as well as providing different ways of entering interiors. We can't do this in the farm area, but I think it would be really cool if in some of the other locations we could find little parkour methods to enter areas or interiors that would otherwise be inaccessible without paying to open the doors for it. It would require a bit more skill if players wanted to be more frugal with their points in those earlier rounds. They could just parkour their way to certain areas instead of paying for the doors. This is just one example of how I'd like the wall jumping to be implemented into zombies. Kinda similar to accessing the Pack-a-Punch in Shadows of Evil, which you had to wall run to access. It's great to also have a new zombies boss that actually falls in line with the environment of the map. The zombie bear is pretty cool and it's pretty lethal with some of its attacks, meaning you have to keep it in your vision so you can dodge its charges and shut down the bees that get sent your way. As well as this, the trap finally has more use with how strong it is, especially in the later rounds. It can even serve a big help with taking down the bear if you lead the bear into it, because in Black Ops 6 zombies I never really felt incentivized to use the traps apart from the Easter egg steps, so this is a good change. It's not just the traps that feel like they have more use, but the mystery box also feels like it actually has more of a purpose now too, because with the lower rates of salvage drops and primary weapons not feeling so strong in the later rounds, it feels like you kinda need another weapon, especially a wonder weapon, to keep your firepower strong enough. Also great to not have score streaks from the mystery box, but instead have a chance to get tier upgrades for your weapon. To end off the positives, there are a lot of small quality of life changes that have been made, like making the self-revive the first option when going to the crafting table, max ammo's refilling equipment, and being able to buy higher tier armor from the same wall buy, and a few more that I think go a long way in making the mode better. Alright, now for the negatives. Obviously it doesn't need to be stated, I'm not a fan of the modern zombies mechanics and systems. Rather, the upgrade systems, point system and shield system from BO3 and earlier Call of Duty titles is what I would have wanted as the default mechanics for how zombies is played. But obviously we're getting curse mode, so we'll have to wait and see how that's like when the game launches before we can properly speak on it. But one of the drawbacks I noticed from playing the zombies beta was the slow or delayed melee attacks. While I do like that melee kills are now more incentivized, it feels very delayed and slow when going for a melee kill. As well as this, when intentionally going for the head or a critical melee kill, a lot of them were just counting as normal melee kills. Not a big one, but I'm sure this is something that can be easily fixed when the game launches, but it still was a bit annoying during the beta. Next up is the return of the doppelgasts. Man, I've had enough of these guys, eh? They've been reused enough already in Black Ops 6 zombies. As crazy as it may sound, I would have preferred they just added more bears instead. Or you know what, I wouldn't even mind too much if they added in the Uber class because it kinda makes sense. We just got put up against them in the Reckoning map from BO6, and this new map in BO7 is just outside of the Reckoning map. Hopefully we won't see any more bosses from BO6 that have already been reused in other maps. I also noticed more into the later rounds, it can get a bit slow with the round progression. Part of this is because the normal weapons become very weak against the zombies, even when fully upgraded. But also as a result of this as well, ammo becomes a scarce resource, because when you do hardly enough damage to the zombies, understandably, you're not going to get enough points to replenish all those bullets you lay into the zombies. Because the zombies only reward you points when they actually die. This is one of the big problems with the current point system in general for BO6 and BO7 zombies. And yes, even with a wonder weapon providing better firepower, the ammo is very expensive if it's fully upgraded. So if you're also buying perks and using the trap here and there, it's pretty difficult to keep the rounds progressing at a decent pace because you're just out of money all the time to buy ammo. Like a lot of the time I just found myself scavenging for small amounts of ammo on the ground when I had Vulture Raid, or just repeatedly throwing my combat axe until I had enough points to refill my ammo. Which at least doesn't mean I'm at a dead end, but it's just an unnecessary waste of time. To no one's surprise of course, I'm going to mention the HUD in zombies is straight poos. This is worse than BO6 honestly, and it's just copied straight out of the BO7 multiplayer mode. It's ugly and it's not zombie themed at all. And I know that there will be other presets like the BO3 zombies HUDs that we will have access to later with the full launch of the game, but still there is too much going on with the HUD. We don't need a compass or a minimap, this should be turned off by default. And if we want to check the map, we can just click the select button on the controller anyway. And I also noticed when I turned off those HUD elements in zombies, it carried through to multiplayer, so I had to turn on my minimap again in multiplayer. It's not a big deal and I do think this will be separated when the game launches because in BO6 I'm pretty sure they can be toggled separately between each mode, but I thought it was still worth mentioning, so hopefully this is the same for BO7. For my last point for the negatives, I know I've already talked about curse mode, but the fact that curse mode isn't already going to be playable when the game launches, rather it has to be unlocked first in standard mode, this is a big L in my opinion. The whole point of us wanting a classic mode is because we don't want to play standard mode. Who knows though, the game isn't out yet, so we will have to wait and see how it's unlocked. Although I'm pretty sure it's been found out online that if you want to unlock cursed mode, you just have to complete the Easter egg in standard mode. Overall, I'm very happy about the positive changes that are being introduced in Black Ops 7. But at the same time, it's sad that it's taken so long to get to this point, as well as that it took strong competition from a contender game like Battlefield 6 for Call of Duty to actually listen to its community. But hey, a win is a win, and we can't be mad at that. So will I be playing Black Ops 7 when it launches? Yes. But let me break it down. I currently have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, so I don't actually have to pay anything to play this game. And you might be thinking, yeah, that's bullshit, Bobby, because the price of Game Pass Ultimate has gone up, so you're still paying for it. Well, actually, what I did a year ago was I bought 3 years worth of Game Pass Standard. Then I redeemed the card. And then switched over to Game Pass Ultimate, which as a result converted my 3 years of Game Pass Standard into 2 years of Game Pass Ultimate. So I'm actually not paying anything at the moment for Game Pass. Nor am I being affected by the big price increase to Game Pass, so I'll be playing Black Ops 7 and my Game Pass will run out this time next year, and at that point, GTA 6 will be out, hopefully. So I'll just downgrade my membership because I don't think I'll be playing COD anymore when that comes out. How about you though? If you're on the fence about whether or not you should buy Black Ops 7 when it launches, previously I would have told you to get a month of Game Pass Ultimate and trial it out when it launches, but now that costs almost half the price of the actual game, so don't do that. Instead, I would highly encourage you just to wait for the game to release and see what the reviews are like, because ultimately we aren't guaranteed that SBMM won't be forced on us again. Anything can change. Best to play it safe and see if whatever mode or modes you have an interest in are actually good when the game's out. But I'm sure a lot of you are pretty much done with COD anyway, and are currently living it up in Battlefield 6 right now, and honestly, I don't blame you. Anyway, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.